Whether you're a lifelong keeper or just getting started, help us encourage responsible keeping, conservation, and public education in the interest of keeping our reptiles safe and healthy as we protect them for future generations. You're invited to spend time with us as we experience these awesome animals together on Intrepid Exotics. What's going on, guys? Hope everybody had an awesome week. Made it to another weekend already. These things keep coming around so incredibly quick. We're going to be 90 before you know it. Let's see. Get banner up there. Oh, man, it has been an incredibly busy week yet again. So we've got a couple updates. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Should be really cool. And by all means, feel free to jump in. Let me pull this up. I should have done this ahead of time. But put up a post earlier today with some suggestions and stuff like that. Some things to talk about. And got a lot of feedback. If I can find it. Let me scroll through here and get to that post. Past all the other stuff. Where we at? I know it's here somewhere. I'll find it. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to keep all this stuff up so we can kind of hit that stuff all as we go. Been a little bit under the weather here lately, so it's slowing me down just a hair, but nothing we can't work through. I'll go into all that. I know some of you guys seen my post up on Facebook, so yeah, getting old, things starting to wear out. Let's see who all we got with us tonight. Don't forget, hit the like, share it out, stuff like that. Especially tonight, we got a couple important things to talk about. And as you can see from the thumbnail, one of them, that's actually out here in North Carolina. Derek, what's going on, sir? Laura's with us. Yes, hit the thumbs up. Erica, good to see you. Panthers here. Greg and the missus. And or we'll find out. Hope you guys are doing good. I think Greg went out to Tinley. Yeah, Greg went out to Tinley. So he's got brought a couple new catches home from there. Michael, good to see you, man. Hey, North Carolina Exotics is with us. Stan is here. How you doing, Stan? Hope you guys are all right. Fred's in. Nicole is with us. And Kenley, good evening. Oh, cool. It's both of the Bowmans are with us tonight. And Leo, good to see you. So, let me give it just a second here. Let me go ahead. I'm going to pull this up anyway, because I do every week, but fortunately, there's not a whole lot of new news going on here as far as USARK is concerned. I'm going to pull up the alerts just to make sure there's nothing that I've missed. But we got to hit this first. And just like I say every week, if you guys are not currently USARK members, it's strongly encouraged. Your basic membership for USARK is only $40 a year. I know we can swing that, and it makes a huge difference. And let's see. Okay, it should be the same updates that it was last week. Yeah. The warrantless animal seizure in Arizona was nixed. The ridiculous Colorado pet tax was nixed. The South Carolina bill, still keeping an eye on that. That one is not near as crazy as some of the other ones that USARK has knocked down. This is one that actually makes a little bit more sense. So it's just something that they're keeping an eye on. The Washington Animal Program ban was nixed. The Florida ban on all iguanas, which I was almost certain was going to pass, did not. So USARK Florida did an outstanding job of getting that one squashed. The herp overhaul in Louisiana is another one that got nixed. And that's all the latest. Like I said, nothing new on that front from last week. And let's hope it stays that way for a while. But like I said, guys, really super important. If you guys have got any questions at all about USARK, about legitimacy, about where the money goes, and you can get on here and pull up all their tax documents and stuff like that and see where the money goes. But if you've got any questions at all that are making you hesitant on becoming a member, let me know. Catch me on Facebook, catch me off to the side or something like that. It's not about talking you into it. It's about answering your questions. So if I don't have the answer for it, I know I can go up to Jeremy. If he doesn't have the answer, I can call Phil up directly and say, hey, man, this is their concern. What's our take on this? So there's no excuse. Okay. Drop that down. I can remove that because we're good, fortunately. Oh, man. Let's see. I know a couple people have popped in on us here. Megan is here. Good to see you. Donna's with us. Hey, how you doing, Sam? Let's see. Yeah, Fred was talking about the live auction for USARK. They did really well. Again, 59 grand at that auction that they did for USARK, which is awesome. Yes, we're going to talk about live feeding again. This one, again, I try not to harp on this topic too much, but there's always new keepers coming in and stuff like that, and I think it helps to throw reminders out there from time to time about this live feeding issue. So we will definitely address that. I actually do not know how many USARK members there are. And every time I get ready to start looking for that information, I get distracted. But I will make a point of trying to find out. That is a pretty good thing to know. The more, the better, for sure. How you doing, Judd? And yeah, I mean, and again, like we say all the time, is the importance of the USARK memberships is, Phil is going into Congress, he's going into these state legislators, he's going into FWC boards and things like that, and talking with these elected officials. And if he's only got 1,000, 10,000 people behind him, it's not going to have near as much teeth than if he's got 100, 250,000 people behind him. They're all registered voters that are all ready to get these people, out of office and into the breadline if they start making bad laws on animals and so forth. So, the membership numbers do make a huge difference. So, and of course, lawyers are expensive. All the travel he does is expensive. They need all the funds that they can to work with. So, again, good question. I'll see if I can. I know that's come up recently too, about how many total members there were. And we'll see what we can do. Mystic Mountain Morphs is here. Good to see ya. All right. So yeah, just kind of an update too. For the last few months, I have been wondering why it's been such a struggle sometimes to keep up with all this stuff. I get home from work and I'm just like falling over. Well, I was down at the VA getting a checkup a few weeks ago, something like that. And apparently the tests came back that I was type 2 diabetic. And my numbers are definitely not where they're supposed to be, which explains a lot of the low energy and stuff like that. So we're working on getting that fixed. I'm not on insulin or anything like that, just on meds to get this stuff regulated. So it all kind of makes sense now. Hopefully that's going to get a little bit better. But it has been a little bit of a struggle. It's amazing what that little bit of chemistry right there can do to your energy level. And of course, when you get all that stuff going on, by the time you get done with work and get done taking care of the animals, it's like, okay. But again, making some good changes this summer. So Really going to focus on trying to naturally get that stuff knocked down. So, oh wow, yeah, Kai, how you doing, man? Yeah, you say he had pancreatitis and a side effect was type 2 diabetes. Yeah, I can see that. So, let's see. Yeah, Tavino was saying I've heard that live feeding is illegal in the UK. You know, I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those people that's into bans and making things illegal, but some things we should have the desire to just do the right thing, and that is one of them. So, for those of you guys that hadn't, I mean, I guess you'd seen the thumbnail on the video here before it came up. I don't need to pull it up. You guys have seen those pictures before, but we had a rescue out here. Took in a ball python, live fed, shows it, and it looked like it'd been this way for a while. My understanding is it had to be put down because it was septic, but it looked like there was like a 2 or 3 inch section that was eaten all the way down to the spine. All the ribs were gone and stuff like that. It's just so sad to see that stuff happening. And I know there's a lot of folks, and you know, it can be such a touchy subject talking about live feeding. One, because I know a lot of big breeders that breed a lot of animals. I know there's some out there that just get their mice in bulk, live, have no desire to euthanize them, and they'll just go in and feed everything live. Whether or not they have any issues, you never know, because they're not going to come right out and say, well, you know, I had 5 snakes get eaten by rodents, stuff like that. But it's commonplace for some, and you know, because it's easier. And you know, those same breeders tell new keepers that it's okay to go ahead and throw live rodents in there with them, and then you get stuff happening like that. Because one of the things that you'll hear really commonly when it comes to feeding is, well, my snake's refusing for whatever reason, it doesn't want to eat. Yeah, it hasn't eaten in 2 weeks, so it doesn't, you know, it's refusing frozen thawed. It's not going to eat frozen thawed, so I've got to throw something live in there to motivate it to eat. Well, I mean, I've had snakes that would refuse for 6 months. My big male retic, it's not uncommon for him to go several months without eating. Ball pythons, same thing. You know, they've got their periods of time where they'll go without eating. And then, you know, I offer them on a regular basis. Eventually they take it. And then they, you know, as soon as they start eating again, then they'll start getting back on a regular schedule. But you got to understand it. Just because a snake refuses, it doesn't mean that they're going off frozen thawed food, and you need to start throwing live rodents in there with them. More often than not, it's a natural cycle of just like, I don't want to eat. So that's the biggest thing that you'll hear. You know, I don't stress it. If my snakes miss a meal or something like that, you know, especially I've got 2 ball pythons here, a male and a female, and they've got times where they will just slam anything that gets in their face, and then they got times that they just won't touch anything. And they're perfectly fine. You know, these animals are the thing, and I know it's counterintuitive, especially for new keepers, because we think of food the way we think of food. You know, we've got to ingest nutrients in order to run our metabolism. Well, a snake doesn't do that. Their metabolism is run externally through heat, UV, things of that nature. That's what drives their metabolism. So it's complete opposite of ours. And they've evolved to be able to go on a minimal amount of food, minimal amount of energy expenditure, especially when they're captive, because they're not in a position where they've got to run from predators. They've got to pursue food, things like that, fight off, you know, dozens of parasitic infections and things like that require their metabolism to be higher. You know, these animals, most of them, you know, even with the basic husbandry, live in the lap of luxury. They get food whenever they want. They're healthy. They don't have to fight off bugs or hawks or possums or anything else like that. And so it's typical that they're going to go off food sometimes. So that's kind of one of the biggest things that you'll hear when it comes to live feeding. And for me too, being somebody that keeps, I've had a pet rabbit before, I've got pet rats. It's much more humane to not throw an intelligent living creature in there and have it fight for its life. If there's a more humane way to do it, then why not? Even when I get my hands on live rabbits and stuff like that, it doesn't take anything but half a second to euthanize that rabbit real quick. Throw it in there. You don't have to worry about torturing the animal. The snake getting a hold of its leg or something, and this thing having to spend 30 seconds or a minute in agony as it goes. And you don't have to worry about it, its free leg kicking out the snake's eye, something like that. With rodents, you don't have to worry about them digging their teeth into your snake, because rodents hurt. I'd rather get bit by one of my snakes than I would by like one of my prairie dogs, for instance. They suck and they hurt quite a bit. So, I understand that and I try my best not to demonize people that live feed, because, under some circumstances it makes sense. Very few. Personally, I would force feed before I live feed. Oddly enough, that's safer for the animal. Bob, when he refused to eat for that first 5 months that he got here, and he was so stressed out and everything like that, I didn't automatically say, oh, he doesn't want to eat frozen thawed. I said, oh, this snake is too stressed out to eat. And as enough time started to pass and I seen that he was expending the energy, he needed to have some food. So he got force fed twice. And then about the third, what would have been the third time, he went ahead and started hitting food, and has not stopped. He's been eating like a champ ever since then. So, that's one of those cases where somebody might say, man, what am I doing wrong? I'm warming it up. I'm wiggling it in front of him, all this other stuff. He doesn't want to take it. There's a whole lot more to a snake not eating than it just don't like frozen thawed. There's so many other things that you've got to rule out first. And some of those things can be hard to rule out. Like I said, sometimes they just go off food because they don't want to eat. And the reason why I make such a big deal about it is, like I said, two reasons. One, it's more humane to humanely euthanize an animal and feed it off. Two, a frozen thawed animal has zero chance of injuring your snake. There is zero chance. Even if you're paying attention, like if I'm down there with a 7-pound rabbit and I throw it in with one of my retics, I can be sitting right there with the door open with my hand a foot away from that rabbit. The snake can strike, the rabbit can kick and gouge that snake's eye out before I have a chance to ever react to it. No way I could prevent that if it was going to happen. Just some stuff to think about. Sometimes it just takes some patience and really digging into what the snake's metabolism's like, what their environment's like, what their state of mind is like. All that stuff all plays in. So the first response should never be, okay, I need to get something live because it's not eating. So I just wanted to hit on that. We see entirely too many snakes getting chewed up, man. And, if you're a breeder and you feed live en masse, just understand that if somebody's buying a snake off of you, advise them to feed frozen thawed. Advise them against feeding live. That person's not as experienced as you. They're not, you can't guarantee that they're going to pay as much attention to the animal. It may be something that you're the only person telling them how to feed. Always encourage people. Let them know. Don't stress out if the animal misses a meal. It's going to take them some time to adjust and stuff like that, because that's what ends up happening. People get their first snake. They're told, oh, it's okay. I can just go ahead and throw a live rat in there. And they do it, and their snake gets chewed up and killed. So, yes, the mug, the world famous mug. Pretty happy about it. Matter of fact, I think it was last week somebody came on and bought one while we was in the middle of the live stream. I paid like 40, almost $50 for this thing. I think he found it for 30 something. So, let's see. Yep. Ball pythons can be really picky eaters. That's one of the things when we talk about, what's the best starter snake for people. And, your knee-jerk reactions to say ball pythons, but ball pythons stress people out so much. Sometimes they just get picky and they don't want to eat, and everybody's stressed out, and they're like, oh, my snake's not eating for a week. It's going to starve to death. Nope. Yep. Yeah, and Greg was saying that, back in the 70s and 80s, before, frozen thawed was a thing, before we started nailing down husbandry and stuff like that, there's a lot of folks that have done that for a long time. But another thing to keep in mind, too, when we're talking about the frozen thawed issue, I've looked up a lot of reports from veterinarians, and I have yet to find one that says that you should be feeding live. Every veterinarian report on feeding snakes that I've ever read says that you should be feeding frozen thawed. That should carry some weight too. If I'm not mistaken, even on the USARK page, it links through to some articles that talk about that. So, and yeah, Stan makes a really good point. If you're feeding live, you've got to watch them. Got to have your eyes on them, because if you don't, if you start throwing live feeders in there and you close everything up and you don't check until the morning, you may have a very full rodent and a very dead snake. Because rodents will eat anything. You go in, if you keep enough rodents in a cage long enough, eventually they're going to start eating each other. It's not uncommon if you've got a crate full of 20, 30 rats in there. If you leave them in there for any period of time, you're going to find one or two of them that are eaten by the other ones. So, let's see. Anybody had really stuck eye caps? Ball python rescue came in Thursday and has at least 2 or 3. Ooh, ouch. Yeah. When you've got the stuck eye caps, you got to soak them for extended periods of time. You've got to try and loosen that stuff up, because if they've got a lot of them stuck on there, then and if they're stuck really good, then you can damage their eyes just going in trying to pull them off. So you've got to really make sure. And this is the thing. Typically, if you've got stuck eye caps, the snake's also dehydrated. When a snake sheds, one of the things that their body does is it'll release oils and moisture that separates that layer of skin, which makes it easier. That's why, you keep the humidity up on your snakes. When you got good humidity, you'll find better sheds and stuff like that, all the way up through the eye caps. And they will dehydrate fairly quickly sometimes, but it takes a little bit longer to get them rehydrated. So before starting to really work those things off, if they're not loose and they're not looking like they're coming off pretty easily, just let them soak. And we're talking hours soaking. And make sure that they get good and hydrated. Not only does that soften up the scales and stuff on the outside just by being in that moisture, but they're drinking constantly, they're rehydrating, and their body's going to start, releasing more moisture to help them shed and stuff in the future. And typically after a couple few days of that, you should be able to get in there and pull those things off. I don't know how long you've been working with that one, but it is something you got to be really careful with because you don't want to damage your eyes. There's not too much for stuck shed that a good amount of soaking won't work with. So yeah, your ball pythons think he's a retic, eats everything. Mine are like that sometimes. Sometimes, man, I throw whatever I put in there and they will kill it. And other times it's just, like, get that away from me. I just want to sit in here and be lazy. See, Davina said I had snakes. I got surrendered to my rescue as live only feeders. Longest it took me to switch was 3 months, and they've never refused outside of him. Yeah, you'll hear some people say live only feeders, but the only time I've ever used any live feeders here is with live pinkies when I was trying to get Athena, my Burmese python, back here to eat after I got her. They don't have developed teeth. They don't have developed claws. I put them in there. It didn't help. She refused on those two. So she was the one that I got. For those of you guys that don't know the story, I got her before she had her first shed, before she took her first meal. It was like right out of the egg. A couple days later, she's at my house. And she would not open her mouth under any circumstances for any reason. She wouldn't strike. I could put my finger up there. She would not open her mouth at all. Wouldn't do anything for food. So I had to force feed her for a good 3 months before she finally started eating on her own. But that's the only live feeders I've ever used. If I do have, like I said, if I do have anything live in here, live rabbits, rats, whatever the case may be, I kill them first. So anyways, garter snake. It's funny because my rough scale green snakes back there, man, they are mighty hunters. It's so funny. I feed them a lot of crickets and stuff like that. And I remember one day, they both went for the same cricket at the same time, and one of them caught the cricket and the other one caught the other snake's head. All of a sudden, I see the one flopping around, and I was like, so I picked him up, and he let go of his head really quick and decided to go after another cricket. So, yeah, Judge said just keep them hydrated, wait for them to come off naturally the next time it sheds. That's a good technique. That's a lot safer. If you've got them good and hydrated and they go through another shed cycle, those should come off. So, hey, Jared, how are you? Awesome. I lived in Ohio for a little while. A town called Akron. Let's see, where are we going here? Holmesy. I love the dog, man. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but his avatar is a pooch. Dogs. Love dogs. I miss my big dogs. And Chloe's doing good. She's been soaking. She's getting ready to shed again, so she's been curled up in her water bowl. I'm trying not to mess with her a great deal. But she's doing great. She's growing faster than I want her to. That's the thing about her, man. She's a mainland. Breaks my heart. She's going to start getting big pretty soon. But Jen is here. Good to see you, Jen. You did. Better late than never, right? This is a very good point. I say this all the time. You know, we've got prepared food for our dogs and our cats. We don't come home and just start throwing live rabbits to our dogs. We've got dog food for them. There's a reason for that. So. Hey, Slow, good to see you, man. Jessica is in the house. Really happy for Jessica. I've got to, as soon as I kind of get caught up on these things, I'm going to show you the the latest addition to Carolina Reptile Center. So I'll have to go through Facebook and find the post, but unless Jessica, unless you want to, let me see real quick. Let me see if I can pull this up. Jessica is harboring an illegal immigrant. So. Okay, it's not on Facebook. Must be on Instagram. She sent me a picture, and I know there's some on her. Okay, so that's going to be on the page. Here we go. Don't mind me. I'm just sitting here scrolling through Facebook, everybody. But I got to find this. This is really cool. Hey, music. We don't need the music. Come on, get back here. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and share this screen here. And I'm not going to share the audio, but I'll do it like this. This is the new addition from Mexico. Apparently, animal control out here in North Carolina found this animal that had hitchhiked up on the back of a vehicle and was looking for a place to find a home for it. And Jessica took him in. And this is a wild spiny-tailed iguana. And we had a lot of talk for a couple of weeks about, you know, strategies for socializing and stuff like that, and how are we going to make sure that, you know, it has a good life and it's not just stressed out and it eats and stuff like that. Well, a couple of days after she gets it, this animal's just chilling out. So it's eating for, really cool to see. So I definitely wanted to put that out there. So if you guys aren't following Carolina Reptile Center on Facebook and Instagram, please do. She does some fundraisers from time to time, vet bills for animals that they take in, stuff like that. She does a lot of native wildlife. So, you know, get something that's injured, just take it in, try and get a veterinary care and get it re-released back into the wild. So she does a lot of awesome stuff. Make sure you're getting on and following that. Time for my backup coffee. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. She's really doing well with that. Oh, how far behind am I? Ooh, let's see. I know I'm way behind. Ambassador. Let's see. Slow say you did some Ambassador Python work last night. Got a new outstanding. Always good when we can expand the hobby, get more good keepers in. You know, one of these days we'll have more reptile keepers than dog keepers. Let's see. There we go. Make sure y'all hitting the like button. Yeah. Hey Al, how you doing, man? Just seen you pop in. Can't believe YouTube allows videos on live feeding. Again, man, as much as I hate the live feeding videos, I'm really not for censorship in most cases. We really despise. I really despise live feeding stuff. But we always got to be careful with what we ban, because that can get out of control pretty quick. One thing that really turns my stomach is when people are doing live monitor feedings, because there is no reason at all to feed a monitor anything that's alive. It's ripping it apart, ripping it to pieces while it's still alive. And them things are garbage disposals. They will eat practically anything in any condition as long as it's in their vicinity, to include fingers if you're not careful. So those things really, really kill me. But I do got to say though too, one of the first things that I drew fire over when I started the channel a couple of years ago is, one of the first hard topics that I hit was live feeding, and I got a little bit of hate for it. But over the last couple of years, I've really seen the number of live feeding videos on Facebook and YouTube go way down. I see a lot more people calling it out. I see a lot more people speaking up about it. I see a lot more people switching over and stuff like that. So that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel there, I think. But yeah, if I had my way, about it, the live feeding thing would kind of be reportable, but still, censorship is a touchy subject. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Hey, Slow, you're gonna have to get down in the comments here when I get to it and let me know if you are, if you got any videos out of your events and stuff like that. I'd like to see them. See, I know you guys have got. I haven't been keeping up with this part of the conversation here, so. That might be the best. Yeah. And just like Judge was saying, we're going back to the eye caps here. The vet pretty much telling you to leave them. That's why I hesitate on stuff like that, because you really got to be careful giving people advice on what to do with sensitive areas with that. Anything that's possible that's why I'm really hesitant to do like force feeding videos and stuff like that, because just not everybody's cut out to do that. And it's real easy to kill an animal if you penetrate their esophagus and stuff like that while you're force feeding. So hesitant to touch on those things and always try and take the safest path. Let's see. See a while. Oh yeah, Kai makes a good point too on the live feeding, and this is actually in, I think, one of my live feeding videos that I'd done a year or two ago. He's talking about, you can see it in the wild with lions getting kicked in the heads and gators getting hurt. If you look at animals in the wild, look at snakes in the wild. They're scarred up. Look at great white sharks, some of the baddest asses on the planet. They're scarred up. Just like he says, lions, tigers, bears. You'll see them missing, chunks of flesh, see missing eyes and ears and stuff like that. Some of these animals will fight for their life, and for me, it's not worth the having these guys playing gladiator in a box when they're captive kept animals. So, Alex, how you doing? Fago, happy Saturday, sir. Let's see. Where at? Eric was talking about not ever having a problem converting to frozen thawed. Yeah, I haven't. I haven't either. George, hello. Oh, where we at? Where we at? I know I'm like way back. So I'm trying to kind of read through the comments here, make sure I'm not missing too much, which I am notorious for. I know there's some questions in here somewhere. I'm sure people have soaking rats. Oh, let's see. We're talking about prepping, frozen thawed stuff. Slow is saying, not sure if people have more success soaking rats to warm versus using heat lamps. The lamps work for us. I think both ways work. You can lay them out, dry, keep them under a heat lamp, warm them up and stuff like that. And that's kosher. If you, with my feeders, I use water. I just turn on the hot water. I've got one small ice cream container that I'll put all my smaller feeders in, throw the bigger ones in the sink. And then I'll just keep changing the water out. It gets them warmed up. Never have any problem. So I dry them off before I feed. I don't want to be slinging water all over the place and have them dripping wet, but it works just fine. But I'm sure heat lamps and stuff like that will work too. If I do have an instance where I've got an animal that's refused for quite a while, I'll pay a little bit more attention to getting them fed first before the feeder cools off. Try and get them straight out of that warm water and straight over to them just to make sure the temperature's up a little bit. Change on that one. Yeah. Especially if, like with me, if I'm thawing out 6, 7, 8 pound rabbits or something like that, I've got to change the water out several times through the process, just because the fur on those rabbits is not as bad with pigs because they don't have that fur to insulate them. But you leave those rabbits in there, they may thaw out completely and still be cool because of the water and stuff like that. And then you run hot water in there and you go to squeeze them, and they'll still be cool because they're so well insulated. So you really got to kind of massage them sometimes to get them warmed up. With larger feeders, you really got to pay attention to it because the outside of them may feel warm, but the inside of it may still be really cold, and you don't want any cold food going into your animals. So those big ones take a while. Takes a couple changes of the water. I don't know. He's talking about Orbeez. First time I saw that was Kevin doing that with one of his, I think it was emerald tree boas that he put in there. My actually my green tree python got a little dry on me his last shed, and I actually had a little piece stuck, and he just went down in his water bowl on his own, sat down there, and I'd check on him every day. He was just sitting there soaking, and he ended up shedding that stuff off on his own, just had one little bit. So talking about how hard his blood python hits. My corn, or my Florida king snake rather, is really good for that. I'll hold feeders in there, and that thing hits food so hard. I'm left with a leg or a tail or a piece of rodent or something, piece of rabbit, whatever I'm feeding them, because I got the little rabbits that I'll feed them to. I'm always left with a piece of it still sitting on the tongs because he just slams it. Yeah. Oh, somebody said moss. I love moss. I've got sphagnum moss in all of these. And I've got a really good sprayer back here that is like industrial strength that I love. Doesn't take any time at all. It'll saturate that whole thing. Hey, Steven, how are you doing? Hey, daughter lives in Akron. Cool. Yeah, when I was, oh my God, 17 years old, I think it was, out there. Spent a lot of time around Akron University. Oh, cool. My grandmother used to live in Canton. So pretty familiar with all those places. That's cool. Ohio's a pretty nice state, man, especially you get around Cuyahoga Valley and all that. Remember when I was a kid, I was always fascinated with the Goodyear blimp hangers that were out there. Favorite breed of dog? The one that's in front of me. I'm terrible with favorites anyway. I don't have favorites of anything. Like people ask me what's my favorite food. It's like, well, I could say ribeyes, but if I eat ribeyes every day for a week, my favorite food's going to be something else because eventually I'm going to get tired of it. So I don't have too many favorites, but misting and soaks have minimal effect. That's mainly where you going? Fago is saying he's heard that misting and soaks have minimal effect, and it's mainly the animal's hydration. Again, yeah, going back to what we was talking about earlier. I think this was before you came in, Fago. It's not just soaking the skin that does it; it's the animal actually rehydrating and being able to secrete its own fluids and stuff like that to help it shed. Because you can soak them and you may be able to get some shed off and stuff like that, but if the animal's dehydrated, that's something that extended periods of soaking will address. So let's see. Yep. Yeah, I've gotten to the point with my monitor lizards and a tegu. I'll go in and I'll just pre-package each meal for all of them. So I got these big quart Ziploc bags in there full of fish, shrimp, and chicken. And like the tegu, throw berries and stuff like that in for them as well. The quail. Actually, the hardest thing for me to prepare for the monitor lizards is a quail, because like, I'll take the wings off, because if they get it backwards, those wings will get caught on the outside of its mouth, and they'll just sit there and fight that thing forever. And there's no way those wings are ever going to go in. And then I had to do the same thing with the legs. I started just by cutting off the lower legs at the knees. And then, like Niles, that goofball, I'd give it to him head end so he could just take it down, and he would take it, throw it around, spin it around, and then get the femur bones of the bird stuck on the outside. So I actually go in right at the pelvis, pop that joint, and skin the leg bone all the way out of there. So it takes me much longer to just do those couple quail and get them ready for him than anything. So hey, Kiki, my thoughts on Chandler. He's young, he's skilled, he knows what he's doing. I don't have anything bad to say about Chandler. He does what he does, and he knows the risks and takes responsibility for it when he screws up. So, I'm 50 years old, and I can't say I wouldn't jump into a pond with an alligator. I might get bit. I don't know that I would film it, because I don't think that's I don't know, man. I really got nothing bad to say about Chandler, man. He does his own thing. And if he wasn't skilled, he would already no longer be with us. But, you know, he's a perfect example of, you know, if you're going to do those high risk things, you need to be prepared to lose fingers or start sucking down antivenom and stuff like that, or be in a wheelchair because a gator tries to take your leg half off. Yeah, he gets an A+ for having big balls, but I don't know that I would follow his lead. You watch it for entertainment value. Don't watch it to don't try to emulate anything that you see Chandler doing ever, unless you are right there getting direction from somebody who is equally as experienced and a little bit more safety conscious. Is that the I think that's the most diplomatic way I can approach Chandler. But I mean, hey, like I said, the dude knows what he's doing, and he's got some awesome animals. Got to give credit where credit's due. I'm not gonna slam him for it. I do know one of the topics that we was talking about on Facebook was the free handling of venomous animals and stuff like that, and that's something that we're going to approach too. And I know I'm like way friggin' behind in this conversation as far as the comments go. So I'm gonna try to get caught up. So be patient. That's one of the things that I try and do. For those of you guys that haven't hung out with me a whole lot, you'll see me sitting here kind of reading through all that stuff. I try to be as inclusive with stuff as I can, especially, you know, if I've got somebody else on and we're having a discussion, I'm not going to pay as close of attention to the comments because we're going to be talking. But stuff like this, I mean, we've got some really knowledgeable people in the community that like to come and hang out with us on Saturday nights. So all I'm doing when I'm reading through here is there's going to be sidebar conversations between you guys, and I don't need to reiterate that because you guys are tracking that. So I'm trying to come through here and catch questions that you may have, topics that we can hit. And I just had this one thing on the top of my head. I just seen it. And what is that? Just talking about something. Oh, yeah. Venomous handlers. There's a guy, I guess he's out here in North Carolina, who you're seeing him all over shorts and stuff like that, just free handling these venomous snakes like they're ball pythons. Please do not duplicate that. I'm not see, that's the biggest thing I think with content creators, and it's the hardest thing to really balance. And that is, for instance, Kevin doing the medical procedures, friggin' slammed him left, right, and center for doing, you know, different procedures that he repeated, done many, many times, been shown by a vet how to do. But the thing is that he's not showing people that so that they can emulate it. He's showing it from an educational perspective to show how it's managed. It's not intended for everybody to replicate, but you know, it's the same with that. It's the same thing with doing force feeding and stuff like that. Anything that could possibly be injurious to the animals. It's always a catch-22 whether you want to show it or not. If that makes sense. Kind of the same. It's there's just so much about reptiles. That's a double-edged sword. Just like with the retics, with all the retic videos that I put out. It's you know, I sit and I talk about how safe it is and how easy my big retics are to work with, how easy they are to manage and all this other stuff. But you're going to find the other side of that spectrum exists too, where they can be, if you've got a big snake and it's not socialized, you're not skilled enough to read it and handle it right, it can be a friggin' nightmare. that can put you straight in the hospital and get you stitched together. So it's all dependent on the handler. You can see even wild caught animals, and Jessica's thing here is a perfect example of that. She's got that wild caught iguana, and it's not biting her, it's not running from her, it's just hanging out and getting used to her, getting used to the environment and stuff like that. So even wild caught animals can be worked with, but hey George, yeah, except insect feeders. I of course feed live insects. Caesar, of course, man. That's like the coolest friggin'. And I'll put it up again. It's empty, which makes me sad. But I'm gonna have to go out here in a little bit and refill because I'm on my backup coffee already. Let's see. Says, yes, I'm drinking out of 2 mugs because they are finite. So I had a little bit of amount that I can fit in there. And then when that goes empty, I've got my insulated mug. So that way I have to make less frequent trips to the kitchen. Maybe one of these days when we get moved, get more space here, I've got more room for a bigger office, I'll get a Keurig or something like that to sit next to the desk. See how that goes. Judd is talking about a guy on YouTube that had a monitor named Raptor he used to help people with rodent control. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I remember that guy, and I'm drawing a blank on a name too. Hey, super chat from Heather. Thank you so much. I have still got to work on getting a little pop-up Clint with his little high-pitched super chat thing. Definitely appreciate that. No, let's see, not the silver mud, coiled snake mug. Oh yeah. Yeah, I said the rattlesnake mug is pretty cool. And Steven sent a super sticker. Appreciate that, sir. You guys don't know how much this stuff helps, man, especially as we're trying to transition and all this other stuff. It is tricky trying to manage the enclosures, upgrades, and all that other stuff. So all of this stuff definitely helps. I fund all this stuff off a day job, and I don't breed and sell any animals. So definitely appreciate all the support. We've also got the Patreon that you guys are more than welcome to check out. If you go to the channel, the links are all there. I need to put a link up here at some point too, but we've got an awesome Patreon base. Just as a kind of to kind of explain what the Patreon is. I mean, the folks that want to support the channel and help us out with what we do, it's awesome. As the channel gets bigger, we're going to start shifting more towards focusing on the Patreon folks. As it stands right now, I've still got the time with the smaller number of folks that are approaching for help and stuff like that. People sending me messages on Facebook, asking advice, doing video chats and all this stuff to help, handling their snakes and things. I can still handle that now as the channel gets bigger, as more people come in. A lot of that stuff is just, I'm going to have to triage it somehow. So the Patreon folks are always going to get first attention, any kind of questions, access, stuff like that. I want to start a kind of like Reach Out Reptiles does, where they've got the Zoom call for the Patreon as well, which I think is really cool that they do. So when it gets big enough, we get enough people in. I'd like to start doing some stuff like that too. So when you go on the Patreon right now, it's not gonna see you're not gonna see a whole lot of activity because the activity happens on Facebook and YouTube. But like I said, man, it makes a huge difference. It actually costs quite a bit to do all this stuff. So we definitely appreciate all the support. Oh, let's see. No. Fish. Hey, Bearded Snake is here. Good to see ya. Outstanding. Yep. Love Doomeral's boas, man. Those things are gorgeous. David, good evening, sir. Here's a good point, too, that I didn't think about. Jessica says she works with wild animals and she's never given a live prey item to any of her rehabs, and they're all wild. So when people throw out this is what they do in the wild argument, these animals that Jessica takes in, most of them come in from the wild. They're fed frozen thawed food and they're put back out in the wild. So something to think about. It's awesome. Super chat from Steven. Can't thank you enough for helping me with my pied. That's awesome, man. I'll tell you what, man, that's one of the things, especially here, like I said, the last couple months, I was kind of struggling with my energy levels and stuff like that. And, to go through some of the comments and see some of the folks coming in talking about, a year later, how their relationship with their animal is so much better. How they're so much happier keeping, how they're less stressed, all that stuff, man. It's really good to hear. Makes me very happy. Reinforces why we do it, and it keeps me motivated to keep going. Yeah, I need to. Caesar was saying his Afrock only eats guinea pigs. I need to start getting some guinea pigs in here too. I'm getting some bigger ones. Now, it's another thing I'm looking forward to is getting another larger freezer when we get moved, which is still on the planning table. Nothing has changed. We're still waiting on a couple things to come through before we start making actual moves. But again, it's just like everything else. You wait for the right time. Once the right time hits, I make it happen. It happens almost overnight. So it'll be interesting when things finally get rolling. Got a couple things trying to clean up and stuff like that, but it's still looking forward to it. Let's see. Yeah. And this is another thing too. I mean, frozen thawed is really, Greg was saying he likes, you can just put him in a deep freeze and pull him out when he needs to. You hear people all the time going, man, I got to feed my snake. I got to run down to the pet store and get some rats. And it's like, if you fed frozen thawed, you could keep a year's worth of friggin' rats and mice in there and just feed forever out of a big chest freezer. The media describes large. Nope. Oh, it doesn't bother me when the media describes them as Godzilla. I wish the media talked about him more. Get him more out there. We've got, man, who was it? A couple people. Actually, Jessica, if I'm not mistaken, didn't your local paper do a thing on you as well? I think they did. I think I seen something up on her, but we're seeing it more often. Snake Discovery. They're on the news. They're on these talk show programs and stuff like that out there locally. I know out in Utah, there's and her name escapes me, but she was a friend of Brian Barczak's, and she's been hitting the news with the snakes and stuff like that. So they're getting a lot more good press than bad, which is really good. Oh, let's see. Where at? Let me read through here a little bit. Oh, hey, Timothy. Hello. Appreciate it, sir. Just popping in for a sec to say, keep up the good work, man. I'll have to catch the reply. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping in. Definitely appreciate the super chat, man. Where we at? Where we at? Let's see. There was another one too. All right, talking about green room pythons. Yep, he's pretty good, dude. I like watching him. He's pretty cool. He's got a pretty good production setup over there. Xander, hello. Yeah, CC feeding syringe in store in North Carolina. I know if you're close to Greensboro, there's a medical supply place up on Lawndale that you should be able to get CC or syringes up there. So it's where I used to go to get my gloves in bulk when I was doing stuff for the medical examiner's office. Yeah, tattoo. Man, you're just all over the place, going over to Tyler Nolan's place too, huh? That's awesome. I need to get down to Florida sometime as well. My mother lives in Florida, and I'm afraid if I don't go see her sometime soon, like this summer, she's probably gonna hire a hitman. Very yeah, it's where was that? See, somebody was talking about, do we think he's bad for the hobby? I'm going to assume this is about Chandler. No, I don't think he's bad for the hobby. I think the cool thing, and this is why I say, because some people do say that Chandler makes us look irresponsible and dumb and stuff like that, but I don't know that that's the case. Especially here over the last couple of years, we've really seen the community as a whole really get more responsible, and the groups are getting more polite. People aren't completely slicing people to pieces for asking beginner questions and stuff like that. People are calling out the live feeding videos. People are calling out bad husbandry and things like that. So things are progressing, and we've got to have the popular people to get exposure to the reptiles and stuff like that. If Tyler starts going way off the deep end, the community is going to let him know. They're going to kind of reel him back in and stuff like that. But I think most people understand, especially, if you're not a reptile keeper, then and you don't know anything about it, you're probably going to be terrified to jump into a pond with an alligator. If you don't know anything about snakes, you're probably going to be terrified to jump in there and start handling a king cobra because you're probably going to die. So I don't know. I said, I don't think you won't see me chopping him up. I try to be as tolerant as I can of people, unless it's an absolute clear case of right and wrong. Plus, I would rather work with those folks than against them. I mean, like the one that I've been fighting forever is Jay. Every chance I get, I'm posting comments saying, "Dude, would you please quit fighting your retics and making them look like, holy terrors?" Have a hard enough time convincing people that these things are safe to work with, and then you got Dead Numbnut out there, intentionally fighting his snakes for attention. But that's a different topic. Hey, Tyler. Good to see you. This retic and Berm are doing great so far. It's good to hear. Good to hear. Let's see. Yeah, and this is a good point. Yeah, something, if it's going to threaten our rights to keep these animals, just like Jessica said, don't do it. You know, the only caveat that I add to that is, like I said, there's some things are subjective, meaning opinions. Something when it's subjective, it's not necessarily, I say it's more opinion. Whereas if you've got something that's objectively right or wrong, it's evidence based, and you can give a rational argument based in evidence that this is wrong or right, either way. And when we talk about opinions, we need to talk about them in the context that they are opinions. I encourage everybody to throw opinions out there. I'll throw my opinions out there. But you don't hold people accountable to your opinions. You hold people accountable to objective facts. That's the difference. Which means that we've got to have some tolerance for some things that we don't agree with. Our opinions aren't always going to match up with everybody else's. So, there's certain things where I may disagree with somebody on something. I'm not going to, fight tooth and nail on it. But if it's a matter of objective fact that there's evidence saying that this is the way it is, and it's indisputable, and there's no evidence to contradict that, then my heels dig in a little bit deeper. So I guess the whole point on that little spiel is just that, when we're looking at things that are good and bad for the hobby, good and bad husbandry and stuff like that, there are points where it turns black and white, but the gray areas, we've got to find that spot in there where we've got a nice cooperative conversation about it and not tearing people down. It's that extreme polarization that just will make the hobby, makes anything intolerable for people, and people will walk away from it. So either that, or they'll see all of the fighting and all that, and they won't want to engage in any of the conversations. Won't want to. They won't learn anything, essentially, and we don't want to do that either. So, let's see. I'm trying to catch up. And you guys got a lot of conversations. Tara said, if I got up and did a dance every time I got a super chat, I'd get more. Never been much of a dancer. I've not even as a young man. I know what my forte is. I stay in my lane. You guys don't want to see me dance. That's for sure. I'm gonna come up with something. I've definitely see. This is when I changed over from using vMix, which is a really advanced streaming program, and I switched over from that to StreamYard because StreamYard is just so much more user friendly. I had a couple early live streams when I was using vMix. It was cool because I could go into my Stream Deck here and set off fireworks and confetti and little dancing geckos and all that stuff whenever I wanted to. But it was one of those things. I had one live stream where I hit one wrong button, lost all my presets to include the audio. Audio went down the toilet. The whole thing was all echoey and sounded like hell. I was like, you know what? I'm done with that. If one keystroke 2 minutes before the live stream can screw everything up like that, then I'm just going simple. So, and StreamYard works pretty good. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but oh yeah, they had their dance. Let's see. Yeah, I think the Zoom calls are really cool. Yeah, it's kind of like a kind of like Discord type thing, but that's definitely something that that I'm pretty sure this summer I'll end up starting up something like that. Again, it's one of those things where I want to get enough people that are interested in it to make it interesting. If there's only 2 or 3 people sitting in there, I'm sure it'd be a good conversation and stuff like that. But maybe we all run out of stuff to say in 15 minutes. Like, oh, okay, well, that was fun. So it's again, a lot of this stuff. There's 2 things at play here. One of them is the number of people that'll be involved, and 2 of them is time. When I ever get to the point where I can devote all of my time to this, then that's going to make a big difference too. And I'll be able to do more stuff without having to do the day job and that whole thing. But again, that may be a little while. It may happen soon. It may, take a while. I don't have my crystal ball, but there's a lot of cool stuff we can do. Let's see. It's amazing. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to kind of cruise through these things really quick because I know I'm kind of getting behind. Oh, I must have missed that. I guess somebody said I need to take a snake out. I should put a monitor on my shoulder like Adam Wickens does. If I was to put one of my monitors on my shoulder, this live stream would be over because Niles is just a big beast and he would end up running off and unplugging something or knocking everything over. And Frazier, he's just hyper. He's happy and really sociable and just the sweetest freaking monitor ever. But he's really energetic. So awesome. Super chat from Jessica. Appreciate it. Says, thank you for pushing me outside of my comfort zone and encouraging me to take risks. I wouldn't have experienced building a relationship with this iguana if it wasn't for your belief that I could do it. And I will continue to push you for stuff. You aced this thing. This iguana is it's doing a lot better. I mean, just like we was talking about earlier in the week, talking about me maybe going down there and helping you work with it and stuff like that. I mean, but these videos that you're pushing out, you got it. You got this thing, man. You're kicking ass with that. And it's really good, for one of the first lizards that you're working with like that. I mean, it's a good confidence builder. Maybe the next one's going to be a holy terror and we'll have to tag team it, but you're really kicking ass on this one and it's done really well. So that's awesome. Again, make sure you guys are following Carolina Reptile Center. I need a snake friend out. Yes, I do. I am getting ready to go get a snake friend. I may end up, I think I'm going to go get Charlie because I know he wants to come out. So if you guys wait 1 second, I'm going to go see if he's wrapped around his branch or something and I got to fight him forever. I'll leave you guys sitting here staring at my chair. But let me go get him. He needs to say hi. And I know Jessica wants to see Charlie anyway. This is really a good time to fill up my coffee too. Okay. Come on, buddy. I think he's getting ready to shed. He sounds a little sheddy. This boy, it's a male boa imperator. And apparently he's going to have a bunch of energy right now. So, what are you doing? And he went through the hole in the chair earlier. And he's just like kind of big for that. As soon as I find his head. Come on, bud. Everybody wants to see you. Quit hiding. Come on. All right. What are you doing? How did you do that? No. Crazy ass snake. Come on. Silly boy. I am a firm believer that pound for pound, boas are the strongest snakes on the friggin' planet. This guy. Or for those of you guys that don't know the backstory on this guy, he had him several years. A friend of ours had a house fire and had some reptiles. He was in that, and he wasn't affected by the fire itself, but it happened in the wintertime. He was really cold when we got him. Their power was out and all that stuff. He had a really bad respiratory infection. So we got him all fixed up. And he's actually got a scratch on the top of his head right there because he's got some branches and stuff in there in his enclosure. And apparently he decided to scrape the top of his head on those things. So that's why you see that little bit of skin right there. So this is one of the snakes that always gives me a perfect shed all the time. But we've probably got one or two more sheds left before that little piece comes off of there. But he's a trooper, man, for sure. He's a good boy. Let's see. Somebody saw that. You say you can get syringes at pharmacies too. No, you're not getting back into the hole. See, I knew I should have just got Athena out. She's a lot easier to manage in here. What you doing? Come on. Stop. All right. Let's see where we're at. Trying to catch up as quick as I can. Tara's just bound and determined to get me up here dancing. Oh, can't do it. What are you doing? Stop. Get over there. I'm going to go ahead and put him back. And we're going to get Athena out, or else I'm not going to be able to keep up with stuff. Come on. Come on, girl. Come on, say hi. Come on. Come say hi. Come hang out. Okay. This is so much easier. I'll tell you what, man. That snake right there, Charlie, he's the best ambassador animal ever. Just such a great disposition. Awesome. Tara said, I never have a Zoom call with only 2 or 3 people. Well, maybe I need to start putting some effort into getting something like that set up. We'll make it a, make it a Patreon Zoom call. Do it maybe every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, something like that. Just kind of play it by ear and see how everything goes. Yeah, this is kind of sounding like the consensus on that so far. It sounds like sounds like we may have to go ahead and start doing those. So that'd be cool. That'd be part of the rules, though. You got to have a camera on. Brian, hey from the UK. Do those at a photography society, huh? Well, see, that means if you're used to doing them with the photography society and stuff, you're gonna have to get some of those folks over and get them into the Zoom calls as well, so that I can learn something from them. So, because I got all this, got all this new stuff with the camera and everything like that. I definitely don't know how to maximize. Don't know how to maximize it yet. So, okay, go wherever you want. So much easier to get her out of the. I'm gonna have to do something about the holes in the back of these chairs because it's not bad when like this little girl does it, but when the bigger snakes start sticking their head through there, they can't always get the rest of themselves through there, which kind of sucks. Hey, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie's got too much energy right now. You know who else has been getting a lot of attention here lately too is Lilith, the Jagpondro. She went back in her hide now, but here the last few days, man, she has been out and active, and just half the time I walk up there and, I'll go look out the window or something, and she's looking right at me, open it up, she comes right out. Really a sweet girl. I feel so bad about the fact that she's so floppy, and that muscle tone is what it is because of that jag gene. But she is really cool. Nameless, good evening. Yeah, this is really, and he's talking about that Mexican iguana video that Jessica put out. Really happy with how well he's doing. And this is something that's really cool too. She was saying that, animal control said that the lizard was hissing and swatting and biting at him and stuff like that. Jessica gets him home, gets him put away, and he goes and hides for a little while and then comes right out for chin scratches. Easy for me to say. I need more coffee. I'm getting hoarse too. This week has been kind of rough. It sucked. Felt like doo-doo. And to top it all off, like a couple days ago, started getting an infection down in my gums. Really terrible friggin' toothache that I've had to treat now. So a couple days of treating it though, and it's finally starting to go away. But that sucked too. Yeah, he's a good boy. And that's one of those boas. People talk about, really? Come on. Don't do it. You hear a lot of people talk about boas being nippier and scarier and stuff like that because they always look like they're getting ready to eat you. That guy, I don't even worry about it half the time. I mean, he looks like he's getting ready to strike at you when you open up the cage, but he doesn't. He has never once struck at me. We force fed him medicine and all that other stuff, and he has never done anything like that. Yeah, Christina missed it. So Charlie was all yours tonight. My hoggies have perfect sheds as well. Tara was saying her hoggies have perfect sheds. Yeah, mine do too. Snakes with a thicker skin tend to shed better, whereas you get a retic and they've got a lot thinner skin than a hognose, for instance. Especially, they get bigger. It's really common to just see retic confetti. Derek's in the house. How you doing, man? Super sticker from Derek. We appreciate it. Been a while, man. Hope you've been doing okay. Good to see you. Yeah. When he really starts getting energetic, man, he's gone. Most of the time, he'll just sit there and chill out. So I've had him out a couple times over the last couple of days, and he's been really chill. Yep. And Greg got him a new monitor up there. Oh, yes. Laura's mentioning the Snake Jungle Gym for a background fun. When we get moved, when I get things set up again, new setting and all that, I want to have an actual studio set up with enclosures for the big animals behind here. Right now it's just got the smaller enclosures up here in my office. All the big animals are downstairs. And I didn't think of that specifically But it is a really good idea to have something set up that's in frame that, if there's a certain animal that we're talking about, like if I want to put a monitor lizard in there without him ripping all the computer equipment up, I can just put him in there. That's a good idea. Something to take into consideration when we're setting stuff up. So, and Greg said you got about a year-old Asian water monitor. They're awesome. Oh, berms are great. Berms are awesome. Actually, this girl right here, this is the one that I was talking about that I got before she had her first meal, before she had her first shed. She was like right out of the egg and showed up here. That I had to force feed for like 2 or 3 months straight before she'd ever open her mouth. And how you doing, girl? You don't want to be on camera tonight? You're just happy to be out of your house, ain't you? It is the sweetest damn snake in the world right here. That's the thing, man. I've put out over the last couple of years, put out so many handling videos and stuff, and I get a couple people periodically asking about, handling sketchy animals. It's so hard for me to put out sketchy animal videos because mine are so damn sweet. I've got to pretty much talk through hypotheticals with all of them, which doesn't do much good. And that's another thing I'm hoping to as well. When we get more room, I'll be able to take in more animals. And I definitely want to, once we get moved and established a new place, I want to bring in the biggest and meanest retic that I can and start working with it and film the whole process. So, and see. Now, that being said, too, there's some animals that, you can get them to a certain level and they just refuse to socialize anymore. They refuse to work with you anymore. Some of them have just been abused and are too terrified of people. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff that I would like to do when situation improves a little bit. So. Yeah, I feel bad. My daughter took my 2 grandsons down to Kentucky. They're at a cabin down there, and her allergies have been kicking her butt the whole time too. Hey, back at you, Derek. I do appreciate it. There you go. It's the best thing to do on a Saturday night. It's so much cheaper than my previous weekend lifestyle. Let's see. Yeah, Steve talking about seeing confetti every time they shed. Retics are terrible for that, man. They really are. And people talk about, well, it's your humidity. If my retic has been soaking in its water bowl literally for a week straight and still throws confetti as soon as it comes out of it, it's not the humidity. It's Hey, Bert, you made it. Oh, no. You're at work till midnight? Well, you never know. I haven't even started going over the comments and stuff from Facebook earlier, so hell, we might still be here at midnight. So, hey, my mother made it. Better late than never. Good to see you. Hope you're feeling good. I was just talking about you earlier and how I got to get down to Florida this summer before I get a hitman in my door. Oh, damn. Did I finally make it almost all the way up to the end? Western children's or spotted pythons? Yeah. I don't know. Not particularly. I probably wouldn't end up with one of those unless it was something that I took in that absolutely needed a home. And for those of you guys that don't follow too much, I really don't buy from breeders or anything like that. Almost all of my animals have either been ones that needed a home, or a rescue. I've got a couple of them here that have been donated. Aubrey Pruitt gave me the Jagpondro and the Sri Lankan, and I've got a retic downstairs that all needed homes. The Sri Lankan Bob, for those of you guys that seen the series on him, these were all sent over here as educational animals. So we did a really good series of the Sri Lankan. It went over really well. It was really popular. And having a Jagpondro here is really cool too, because it it demonstrates a lot of the neurological stuff that you'll see in Jags. That poor girl, she is absolutely beautiful snake. Eating, easy to handle, has never struck at me or anything like that, but her muscle tone's just in a toilet, which is bad. But she's still healthy. Let's see. Cool beans. I made it all the way to the end. I don't know how I did that. I never make it to the end of the comments. All right. Let's see. There's a couple things here that where was it at? We had it. No, I threw a question out on Facebook, asking for suggestions, anything anybody really wanted to kind of talk about tonight while we was on here. And just going down the list, Christina had a good point. What to do if we die, and who is going to be taking care of our reptiles for us? Definitely something that we need to take into consideration, especially for all of us old guys and stuff like that have the health problems creeping up. You never know when we're going to walk out and just fall over dead. If you don't have a really big circle of friends or whatever the case may be, you need to, or if you're primarily the reptile person, you don't want to saddle your spouse with a bunch of responsibility that they don't know how to handle. So we can just kind of reiterate the importance of making sure we've got a plan. Ruth already knows. I ever kicked a bucket, she knows exactly who to call. Say, hey, Tim's toast. He's out of here. We've got to do something with the animals because I can't handle them all by myself. And I know they'll be in good hands. So something really important that we all need to make sure that we're doing. Let's see. And one thing that's really cool too is, if you don't have anybody specifically that you want those animals to go to, find somebody that can maybe hang on to them and, put them up on a USARK auction or something like that, and donate them to USARK in that way, which is a good thing to do. And Jeremy had made mention of talking about losing a reptile unexpectedly. Been really fortunate. We haven't lost any since the SD hatchling that had a intestinal perforation, but none of our other ones. So we've been pretty fortunate in that respect. I was really sad about that super dwarf. That hurt, but did a necropsy and found out that it had a perforation, that it was just, there would have been no way of fixing that. So sad as it is. Oh, what else we got? Somebody had said something. Pros and cons of reptile expos. I don't know. I go to Reptile Expo sometimes. Typically, if I've got a friend that's vending one locally or something, I'll go. Or if I'm going to be speaking at one, then of course I'll go to that. But I don't know, man. you guys can go ahead and share your thoughts with it. I know I've seen some people that didn't look very well versed with reptiles walking around with fresh purchases that, you know, like this one walking around a baby retic and a baby Nile monitor. Probably the two, you know, the two requiring the most experience to work with over time. So as a young guy, he didn't have a whole lot of experience doing much of anything because of his age, but I don't know. Reptile expos can be kind of difficult to talk about. Everybody wants to go out and, you know, move animals, make their sales and stuff like that, and that's what it's there for. Okay. Maybe I should have closed the window. It's warming up. The bikes will start coming out. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have a whole lot of feedback on reptile expos. Typically, you know, I go to them. You'll see a ton of ball pythons up there, a ton of cresties, leopard geckos, stuff like that. And I can only look at so many of those before I got to come home and play with my Nile monitor or retic or something. So, plus, I'm not really big on big crowds. So, you know, I can. It all depends kind of on the context. I've done a couple of reptile expos where I've taken like big snakes down and done little talks with them, and those are always fun. You know, interacting in that capacity, that's always fun to do. But as soon as that's done and my specific purpose for being there is over with, I'm perfectly happy coming home and messing with my own animals. The one thing about reptile expos too to watch out for, and most of the time people are really good about that. There's two things you don't want to just run up, start reaching, grabbing animals, handling everybody's animals and stuff like that. The whole, you know, possibility of spreading illnesses and mites or something like that. You really don't want to be handling anything unless you're planning on buying it and taking it out of there. If you can avoid it. So there's little etiquette stuff like that. You know, you get there's good and there's bad breeders out there. Some of them may show up not really caring if their animals are sick. You don't really see that very often, but you may see people that don't know. They're not aware. They've got a couple snakes that have a mite or something. They just hadn't seen it yet. They should be checking everything, but sometimes these guys have so many animals out there, it's easy for stuff to slip through. So that's probably one of the biggest things to look out for at expos, is just making sure that you're keeping things clean and doing everything you can not to spread anything around if there is anything. So it also goes back to you know, making sure you're all cleaned up when you get home and start messing with your own collection, so you're not bringing anything home from the show. Make sure that you haven't been messing with your animals before you go to the show. Start messing with somebody else's animals. Get cleaned up really good, because you don't want to bring anything there, make an animal sick if they've got something that you don't know they've got. So, because no matter how good of a keeper we are, I can't think of too many people that's been keeping snakes for any length of time that hasn't at one point found a mite, or hasn't at one point had a snake getting a little RI or something like that we've had to treat. So you never know. You always got to stay on top of that stuff. Talk about how heat sources must have a thermostat. Absolutely. Especially now, this is one of those things, like if you've got a ceramic heat emitter and you've got it positioned, and kind of like for my monitor lizards, I've got a couple of heat bulbs over top. I turn those on and I gauge the height that those things sit at by what the basking temperature is there. I don't have a thermostat on that because it's not going to change. It comes on, it stays the same, and it's going to heat based on the distance there. And if that doesn't change, then you're good. If there's any chance of a fluctuation in temperature, always put a thermostat on it. Some enclosures with like ceramic heat emitters. If it's a smaller enclosure with a heavy emitter on it, you definitely want to have a thermostat on it because it can overheat the enclosure, and overheating a reptile will kill them just as quick as underheating them will. And definitely, I don't even like using belly heat. It doesn't take anything but seeing a couple pictures of belly heat gone wrong and the kind of burns that they inflict on animals when things screw up. Big reason why I like having top mounted heat, radiant heat panels and stuff in all my enclosures. There's no chance if the heat panel is mounted on top of the enclosure that the animal is going to lay on top of it and hurt themselves if something does go wrong. So definitely, yeah, if you get any kind of belly heat, make sure that stuff's on a thermostat, because if it starts to get too hot, for some reason, and I have no idea why it is, snakes will lay on something and cook themselves. They'll lay there and let rats eat them. And there's just something about these animals where they just, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm pretty certain if my chair went up to 200 degrees and started burning me, I'd get off of it and move. Or if a rat started chewing on my leg, I'd kick it off of me. For some reason, snakes don't always do that. So you got to take that into account. Let's see. Yep. And another point about keeping like ceramic heat emitters, you're keeping extra heaters that you use on hand. So when one goes out, you've got it. So definitely another important thing. Let's see. Tara was asking earlier about supplementing tegus or monitors with calcium. I do a couple things for calcium with them. Every now and then I'll throw a little bit extra in there, but I vary their diet. The shrimp that I give them has got the shell on the shrimp. I make sure I give them, some of the chicken that I give them will have the bones inside there, and I'll throw them whole prey at them sometimes. The fish that they feed is more filler, but it kind of depends. Of course, the quail that they eat as well has got the bones in it, so I don't want to go crazy over supplementing them with stuff. I just vary their diet. And similarly with the tegus, you can vary their diet a little bit more because they're omnivores and they're going to eat the vegetation that you put in there as well. So yeah, I haven't done a whole lot with supplements with them. A lot of times if you get something that like only eats crickets, dusting them with calcium powder is a good thing because crickets aren't always the healthiest, or the most nutrient rich, I should say. I don't want to say they're unhealthy. They're not always the most nutrient rich food for them. So not as much as say mealworms or something like that. Oh, there was a couple other things going on here. Where's that at? Oh, that's cool. Tara, outstanding. Just became a Patreon member. She says, love your stuff. It's definitely worth supporting in this way. Awesome. Appreciate it. And we are going to, and since this discussion came up, I guess I'm going to have to get on Patreon and start this Zoom call thing. So we will start. I'll get all that stuff set up. I plan on doing it. Barring anything else that I find out that might make it a little bit easier for folks. I'm not going to split it up into tiers. If you're on Patreon, we'll have it open to all Patreon people every time it comes on. And I'll go ahead and post those links on the Patreon page, like the day of or something like that. So we'll start doing those Zoom calls. Definitely. That'll be a lot of fun. Have somebody else in there to run their mouth besides me all the time. And the snake is trying to choke me out. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one good thing about expos too, is the feeders. But fortunately, I've already got a pipeline of all of the feeders that I use, much less expensive than. Of course, I do got to say, I did get a really good deal on a ton of crickets at the last show we went to out in Raleigh. Yeah. You know, Jessica's saying it was going back to avoiding crowds and stuff like that. I've just got, there's a scene in Men in Black. I think it's the first one where Will Smith says, "Why can't we tell people? People are smart." Tommy Lee Jones says, "The person is smart. People are stupid." And I can't remember the rest of it. I can't quote it verbatim. But the herd mentality, yeah, that's kind of scary. I think probably the most nervous I've ever been in a crowd was when we first went over to Iraq in 2003. Anybody that watched that stuff seen the whole country got blown up in like the first couple of weeks. After a couple of months, things slowed down a lot, and we really didn't have a whole lot of fighting. We started to transition into the rebuilding mode and stuff like that. And there was this one sheep market is what we called it, in between these two towns that we would go back and forth. There was a fort that we had, and the other area had our battalion TOC. I think it was there, Technical Operations Command. And there was this place, there was always hundreds and hundreds of people out at this open market, man. And we'd drive down the road and we'd just be surrounded by locals. And if they all had a pocket knife and decided that they wanted to come get us, we didn't have enough bullets to save our own lives if they came at us. So we were really at the mercy of the crowd. Kind of unnerving. I was glad that they weren't really mad at us, but yeah, not a fan of crowds. A pig for your enclosure ready. Yeah, this is I think I missed a little bit of this conversation here. But mentioning having a picture of the enclosure that you're going to put the snake in before you adopt them, that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. There's nothing like bringing something back and then having to jump through your butt trying to find the appropriate thing to put them in. So a lot to be said for that. Whoop. Sorry. I don't know, man. Yeah, I've had a couple people ask me about Animal Con before, and I don't know, man. That's one of those things where I'm going to lean on the community. If I was to get an invite out there and folks would want me to talk on something, I would be more than happy to. But we'll see. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, especially being in a community where a lot of these people have been doing this stuff 20, 30 years and stuff like that. And I've got, I've had this little YouTube channel for 2 years. And I don't know. I always feel like there's somebody out there that can address a lot of the stuff better than I do, in a more well-rounded way. But I'm always open to talk about what I do know. I am really, really confident in my handling abilities and being able to help people with basic stuff like that. So I would definitely be open to going out and talking about that stuff. But it is one of those things too, since I don't get my animals necessarily because of, I don't look for specific morphs and stuff like that. I happen across something that needs a home, I bring it in. I didn't pick the morphs of my reticulated pythons. My male, I seen him and he was just gorgeous. I wanted to grab him up, and my female needed a new home. Somebody had gotten her Knew they weren't going to be prepared for a 16, 18-foot snake, so I took her in. So as far as morphs go, I'm the last person in the world you ever want to ask about it. People start talking about super dwarf morphs and stuff like that. I'm like, go talk to Garrett. Go talk to Reach Out Reptiles. He's the guy to talk to. Anybody asking about any other kind of morphs, man, I've got a lot of breeder friends that I'll direct them to, but I am not gonna start guessing at morphs because I'm probably not gonna get them right. It's one of those things I just haven't really devoted any mental real estate to. Much more into just enjoying the animals, whatever color they are, interacting with them and stuff like that. And maybe that'll change if I do decide to start breeding at some point. Then I'm definitely going to have to, really get up to speed with a lot of that stuff. But in the meantime, we're good. And I think when it comes to stuff like that, or people ask me to come out and speak, I do my best to stay humble and keep checking myself, because I don't want to be that guy that runs around and acts like he freaking knows everything. So I try and measure everything, if that makes sense. Because I know I can be really direct a lot of times and probably come across pretty arrogant on some of the things that I talk about. So I try to avoid that every chance I can. If I ever had I have never had a heat panel catch on fire. Not once, fortunately. Knock on wood. But I know people that have. I've had people approach me about certain brands that they say catch on fire, but I've only had the one person really approach me with that. And so I'm not going to speak out based on one person having one incident, because I don't know what else is involved in it. And I don't want to start speaking bad about a brand of heat panel. If it was the owner, if the mistake was on them somehow. So anyway. Oh, hey Randy, how you doing? Oh no, this isn't the Sri Lankan. This is my little female Burmese. I did have the boa out earlier, but he's got so much energy that I couldn't even focus on any of the chat. He was just all over the place trying to crawl through the holes in the chair, and he's too big for that, so I put him back. He can run around his enclosure, run off some energy. But I can get Bob out. He won't be too happy about it because he's been chilling in his hide for the last couple of days. So yeah, if you guys want to hear him scream at me when I open his house up, I'll put her back and bring him out for a little while. Let's see. How old is she? She's just over 4 feet. And I am so terrible with time. She is pushing, I want to say 3. She has not really blown up size-wise. Like I said, she had a rough start. And although, after about the 3-month mark, she started eating on her own. I'm also not power feeding her or anything like that. So she's not old by any stretch of the imagination. But she is sweet. And we talking about snake fires. I can't talk about that or I'll start having nightmares. Every single day. I think about that so much that every single day when I come home from work, the very first thing I look for is black over the windows. I know it's terrible, but that's like the very first thing. As soon as I can see the house, it's like, okay, house didn't catch fire today. We're good. It just kills me. Let's see. Steve was asking how we do the Patreon stuff. What I can do, I keep the Patreon link in all my videos. If it's not there, then it's an oversight that I forgot to put on typically a live stream or something like that. But let me pull that up, and I'll go ahead and share and pin the Patreon for anybody that wants to jump on there, man. We've got a couple different levels. For those of you that aren't familiar with Patreon, it's kind of like, it's a membership where you do like a monthly pledge, and it's set up kind of like a Facebook page. You can get on, you can post, you can message and stuff like that. You can post videos in there. And it's just a way to help support the channel. You get somebody, like if you watch one of Clint's videos and you watch when his screen scrolls, and he's got, I don't know how many Patreon supporters he's got, but it's every bit of 500 if it's one, and if every one of those 500 people is doing like a $10 a month pledge, that's $5,000 a month. I mean, $5,000 a month is, if I was to hit something like that, we're automatically working with the reptiles full time, and I'm doing public education stuff full time, and building out a lot more content. So Patreon's another way that we can use to add to the revenue that comes off the YouTube ad revenue and stuff like that. And when you're sitting at 9,000-10,000 subs like I've got, and not always able to put out as much content as I want to, the ad revenue doesn't go very far. I already spend, just between the streaming software, the editing software that I use, some of the stock stuff that we'll have. I mean, we're looking at like $200 a month just to produce the channel. By the time we get done with all these subscription fees and stuff like that. So, a lot of times we're just barely breaking even and stuff like that. Anything that we make over and above that, we're going into feeders, we're putting off to the side, trying to build in new enclosures and stuff like that, which I've got to start doing as well. So the Patreon stuff is really, really helpful as well. It's a really good way to help grow the channel. And I'm going to put the link. You sit still for a second. I'm going to have to put this snake back because she just wants to run around all over the place again. Let's see. Where's mother? Where's this? It's over here. That. Okay. There. Here, I've got the got the Patreon link pinned up top now. So yeah, definitely, man. Anybody that wants to jump on there, like I said, based on a conversation tonight, we've got one live stream tonight, and I've got 2 or 3 people already saying that they think a Zoom call would be cool, that they'd be interested in doing it. Then I'll get on Patreon before the end of the weekend. I'll try and put together a video to put on there, kind of talking about how we'll set it up. I'll get suggestions from everybody as far as what days and times work best. And then we'll just see about getting everything set up. So, yeah, I know Patreon's not. When I work with it, I don't even open a Patreon on my cell phone. I always bring it to my PC. So, Cameron, how you doing, man? Really? There's a story to be told there somewhere. Cameron, I don't know if you guys can read this or not. So what's up? He's a big snake lover. Bert Llewellyn once saved my life in an explosion, and he's a national hero. Well, I know Bert's a good dude from the exchanges that I've had with him. I'm always Always up to hear a good war story. I know when I was in BNOC, which is a non-commissioned officer course in the Army, is one of the things that we had to do after Special Forces selection too. That's part of the Q course. And the first sergeant that we had there told us that he used to be a Delta Force operator. And he said every class he tells one story, and he was explaining how I was in the BUMFC, the Blown Up Motherfuckers Club, because I guess it was down in Central America or something like that, and a helicopter flying nap of the earth ended up getting hit by an RPG, and he literally over the jungle got blown out of the helicopter and landed in a tree. So I was like, you win. I don't have any stories like that, man. But anyway, enough sidebar. Where you at? Didn't see. Here I go, man. I'm falling behind again. Yeah, I feel the sarcasm just dripping off of that. Steven said, arrogant? No way, not you. Yeah. I really do try my best not to be. Hey, John made it. Good to see you, man. Outstanding, a gaming date. Oh, yeah. Yeah, one of the things we was talking about just a minute ago, well, you probably heard it because we was just talking about doing the Patreon Zoom calls. So let's see. Yeah, and by the way, Tipping Scales here. If you guys are not following him, if you dig the stuff that we put out here, you'll like the stuff John does too. John's a pretty good dude. He puts up some really cool content. He hits a lot of the current events and stuff like that. He actually spends a bit more time editing than I do. He's got some pretty cool stuff that he does. So you'll definitely want to get subscribed to his channel and keep up with it. If anybody wants to drop his link up there while I'm catching up on this stuff, man, feel free. If not, I'll do it in a minute. But let's see. How long does it take a berm to get to full size? That has to do some with genetics, some with how frequently they're fed. And snakes never technically get to full size because they grow their entire life. This one, like I said, she's about 3 years old and just over 4 feet. My male berm is just about as big as, he's growing slowly. Like I said, they grow the rest of their life, but I don't expect him to get a whole lot bigger. He's like 12, 13 feet. And 7, 8 years old, something like that. So, you can expect, but it's somewhere between, if you're not power feeding them and stuff like that, maybe 4, 6 years, something like that, you're going to start getting close to what they're going to top out. If anybody else has anything else to put into that, by all means, when I get down to it in the comments, I'll post that up there. Oh, sweet. Outstanding. Yeah, I just pinned the link to the Patreon up on top there. So absolutely. Like I said, we're going to start doing one. So, like things you can type in, pop up stuff. Now, this stuff right here, see, does chat have a command list, like things that we can type in and it'll pop up links and stuff, or have it set a timer? I will have to look into that. I don't know if you're talking about the chat in Patreon or if you're talking about the chat here. A little bit more clarification. So, oh, sweet. Outstanding. Megan is on board as well. Hey, you guys rock. You guys rock. So, yeah, like I said, I've been kind of growing the Patreon in order to have that established when the channel gets too big for me to keep up with everybody and then be able to focus mainly on the Patreon folks. But, if that's going to start growing, then I'll start paying attention to it and we'll start making some stuff happen there. The support definitely means a lot, man. You guys rock. Eric is on board for it. Good. I do not have a Discord. I've thought about having a Discord. Honestly, I haven't even interacted with Discord since it first came out years ago, and we would use it on video games. So long ago, I don't even really remember which game we used it on. I think it might have been EverQuest or something like that, like maybe 15 years ago. I know it's been... it's been a while. Small funds from Facebook. Yeah. I think last month I made like $1.62 from Facebook. They've got they've got the monetization stuff through Facebook and Instagram, and I haven't been paying much attention to it. Like I said, it's every month I'll get an email that says, it's a statement of some sort saying I made $1, $2 or something like that off Facebook. But honestly, up until 6 months ago, I didn't even know you could make any money off of them. See, do I know anything about mangrove monitors? I did have a young mangrove monitor. I know they're escape artists. I know they can survive for a week in a closet. They're really cool. My understanding is that mangroves have got among the most toxic mouths of the monitor lizards too. I had a brief discussion. I don't quote me on that. That was, from a fairly reputable source, but I've heard that they've got the most toxic mouths. Definitely fact check that. But I mean, they're really cool. Really similar to Asian water monitors, maybe a little bit more skittish. But the care and husbandry and stuff like that's pretty similar. So I like them. I think they're cool little dudes. And they don't get as big either. For somebody that's thinking about maybe getting a Nile or an Asian water monitor or a croc monitor or something, but you're worried about the size or maybe the fact that a crocodile monitor will shred you to pieces. Mangroves are a pretty good option. It gets a little bit smaller too. So, he's talking about I just told Adam the other day. I was like, dude, you need to have me on your channel talk about big snake handling so that we can grow this channel, get up to 100,000 subs. And let's see. Oh yeah, and that was the conversation started because I let him know that I'd went to bat for him a couple times about the leopard gecko thing. But let's see. Yeah. And nerd, man, Kevin has just got his hands full up there, man. Trying to run that place. I'm surprised he's got any hair left, man. Because I know what it's like trying to deal with staffing things, especially trying to staff something that's a specialty like reptiles in the capacity that he does them down there. So he doesn't have a whole lot of time or inclination really for social media. I mean, he's really got to force himself to get on and record and do this stuff. He likes interacting with the community and stuff, but he just doesn't like social media. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. Oh yeah, John does some great stuff. Oh. And of course, man, you are always jumping on and helping out here whenever you can. We'll definitely return the favor. Plus, you put out good stuff. So, yep. Tara thinks the same thing. Yeah, John's content, he has got a really diplomatic way of approaching things that, I mean, for those of you guys that have watched me tackle some tough stuff or even some of the stuff on social media here recently that I've put out, I'm not always as diplomatic as John is. If it's something that is black and white and objectively true, I really don't pull too many punches. So, and that doesn't make it better than what John does. In a lot of ways, I think it's a little bit worse because John is a lot less likely to offend people, where I am a little bit more likely to offend people. And you catch more bees with honey. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, he covers some tough stuff, and he does it really well. So, oh, hey Chase, just now seen you in here. Yeah, I don't know if it's the first time you commented. I just found a channel a few weeks ago. Awesome topics, content. Learned a lot. Keep it up, man. I appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more folks just now finding the channel and stuff like that. And going back and rewatching some of the old content. And I know I've been thinking to some degree about going back and revisiting some of the first videos that I did, because, you know, it's just like all of us, anytime we start doing something like this, it takes time to learn how to talk to the camera, how to manage, how to edit, all that other stuff. So it's kind of the same thing that I tell everybody that's thinking about starting a YouTube channel. Just press record, do it, start talking, be honest. You're gonna suck the first few videos. Deal with it, because you know you'll be staring off into space, or you not be able to keep eye contact, be stuttering, have to spend 15 hours editing everything because you want to say and like and all that stuff. So anyway, I thought about going back and revisiting like the first videos and maybe remaking them. Now that I'm a little bit more smooth with speaking on camera and stuff like that. And you are making it really hard to talk, girl. Get off my vocal cords. I said I was gonna take Bob out too. I tell you, man, you're on the ball tonight, Tara. You might just have to be large and in charge here. Outstanding. North Carolina Exotics is on there as well. YouTube chat. Oh, here we go. Said for live YouTube chat, I have a couple commands for us to type, or should I pop in? I don't know of anything like that. A couple commands for us to type in. Periodically popping. Oh, okay. So you're talking about like links for Patreon and stuff like that. The only way I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only way I know how to do that is to do just like I did here and pin the comment up on top. Yeah. Also, you know, we got the banners and stuff like that run across the bottom that I've got for USARK right now, but they're not clickable links. So, but yeah, I really should probably push that, because I think the Patreon would grow a lot quicker if I really pushed it and put it out there. So we'll see. Let's go. Yep, Greg's been on there too. That's awesome. Actually, I had a chance to meet Greg. He's from Utah. And when we went out to Retic Fest last year, Abby, you guys might know her as a curly-haired keeper. She lives not too far from Garrett's place. So she opened up her house the day before. And I just happened to get there first. So I met her and Jody, and we're down there playing with the snakes and stuff like that. And Greg walks in, and I didn't know him at the time, and he had watched some of the videos and stuff, and it was kind of funny, really. He's like, "Man, I know you. Where do I know you from?" And well, hello. You got something to say? But yeah, Greg's an awesome dude. So he was the first person that I met out there. It took a little getting used to too, because that event, going to Retic Fest, was the absolute first time I'd been out to any kind of an event where, since I'd had the channel. So I got all these people walking up to me, recognizing me. And of course, I don't see a lot of people face to face. So I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh yeah, okay, that's your screen name. I know who you are now." So it does take a little getting used to having folks just automatically know who you are. I'm used to living a pretty private life before reptiles. So it's kind of weird putting out there and having everybody just recognize you right off the bat. Let's see. Taro is talking about Discord. It's also a way to keep the Patreon peeps chat with each other. Okay. Yeah, I'll start looking into Discord too. See if maybe we can get one of those going. One of the conversations that I was having with somebody is that there's some Discords that get trolled a lot, or some bickering and stuff like that back and forth. But I mean, honestly, I don't think once I've actually had to moderate anybody out of chat. The whole time we've been doing these live streams, I don't think anybody has trolled. I don't think anybody has had any really, bad vibes that they've been throwing out or anything like that. It's always been positive, which is freaking amazing for an online forum of any kind. I think of everything about Intrepid that I'm most proud of is that we've got good people here, and that there's just that's what it's all about. Now the whole community, everybody that hangs out here, live streams and stuff. If somebody does step out of line, I don't have to stop and address it. Somebody else is going to say something. But like I said, I think that's only happened like maybe once, and it was with a hyperactive kid that was in there. So, yeah, that's. I don't know if I've ever openly acknowledged that before, but you guys are really, as a community, everybody that hangs out here, you guys are awesome, and you really make my job very easy. So very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. So, oh, yep. And I just now read that, but yeah, it is a great community here, man. You guys are awesome. Talking about Snarfle's videos. Yeah, see, Kevin kind of, he's used to having Donnie around to, do all his editing and stuff like that, but you don't need all of that stuff. You really don't. Anybody that watches Kevin, I mean, like myself, I won't say anybody because maybe people watch it for different reasons. If I'm watching Kevin doing something, I'm not expecting Star Wars level special effects and stuff like that. I want to hear what he has to say. The camera doesn't need to be cutting every 5 minutes or every 30 seconds or whatever it is to keep my attention. He doesn't have to do all of the tricks with editing to make things interesting. I'm interested in what he's saying and what he's doing and seeing the animal and stuff like that. So, and that's the way I run all my videos. I have gone in and I'll try to, you know, clean up frames and stuff like that a little bit. But for the most part, you know, the important part is for people just to be able to hear what you're saying, having a good microphone, and being able to see what you're demonstrating. And as long as that stuff's there, man, I mean, I think you're good. Anything else is just icing on the cake, which a lot of times you don't even really need. You know, kudos to, you know, throwing in a lot of B-roll and stuff like that for entertainment value. It does improve the quality of the videos, but for me, I can live without that stuff as long as I can get the point. What are you doing? She's crazy. Uh-oh, she's sneaking on me. She's sizing me up. Oh, what you doing? You hungry? You gonna start at my nose? This girl is something else, I'll tell you. I can't do this and this at the same time. You chill, girl. I'm gonna have to throw her back in her enclosure in a minute. Oh. Okay, here I go getting waved. Okay. Tara's screaming for Bob. Let me go ahead and put her back because I've been saying I need to put her back. You guys might be able to hear Bob yell at me when I get him out. Come on, girl. Don't ever buy office chairs with holes in the back. Yes. Yes. Get in there, sweetness. All right, Bob. You see me? Oh, yeah, you see me. Don't get mad at me. I know. I know, buddy. I know. Don't get mad. I'll get you out of here. I'm gonna really piss you off taking this hide off you, I know. Yep. No. No, we're not doing that. Come on. Come on. I know you're pissed. Let go. Please doesn't. I know. I was being rude. It's okay, buddy. Need to get you some more hide. Okay. I hope you guys were able to see a little bit of the attitude he was giving me. You okay now? That's why I typically don't mess with him when he's in his hide. And it's one of those things, you know, when they're resting like that and going in there and moving the hide, it's kind of rude. He considers it an asshole thing to do, and he struck at me twice. Kind of got me right on the tip of the finger, so I guess I could go check my blood sugar now. But But he struck at me twice because I just had to go in there and start, you know, jostling his stuff around on him. But this is one of those things, a really good time to acknowledge that even if they're striking at you like that, if you don't react to it, if you don't let it make you afraid, if you continue to do what you need to do to quickly get in there as quick as you can, you know, I've got that big hide, so it took a while and it just pissed him off. So he slammed me a couple times. But I understand that, and I kind of expected it just because I wasn't going to be able to go in there and get him out like I always do. So he took a shot at me, ignored it, treat him like I always do, go in, pick him out, and he's perfectly fine now. You know, the only reason why he struck at me is because I woke him up and I was jostling him around like that, and he was like, dude, he's kind of like me. I mean, he's a young snake, but he's already got the old man get the hell off my lawn stuff going on. See, he just struck at me twice, and I've already got him around my neck, letting him crawl around my face and stuff like that. So it's not that he's mean. It's that I did something that I knew was going to piss him off. And are you going in a hole too? Shit. I really gotta get new chairs. The holes in the back of that thing's killing me. Okay. Do something to edge. Yeah, see, and Steve's talking about, you know, maybe automating some stuff in the chat. That's one of the things that VMix was really good at. You could really make that thing sing and dance, but it was also really easy to screw up. And I screwed it up a couple times. So where you at? Yeah, keep an eye on him. And I switched over to StreamYard just because it's easier. The downside of it being easier is there's not enough fancy, or there's not as much fancy stuff that you can do on it. But really, dude? Oh, what are you doing way down there? Oh, stop. If you'd freaking get comfortable, you wouldn't be so grumpy. Get the hell off the chair. Come on. Come on, crazy. Come on. I know. I'm sorry. Everybody wanted to see you, so you're out. Deal with it. I know a lot of you guys may have not have seen this before, but it's kind of funny because this guy, the first time I had him out, he would attack the microphone like it was nobody's business. He was terrified of that thing. There it goes. Yeah. Oh, cool. Hey, Jared. And speaking of Bob, I had the opportunity to possibly get a Sri Lankan. Cool. Have a rock python, and ever since I've been watching your videos, he's 100 times better working with. That's cool, man. I love hearing that. Like I said, that's the thing that keeps me going. I hear things like that so often anymore as the channel starts to get bigger. Then, you know, people are just having an easier time working with their animals and stuff. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I don't attract trolls because I'm pretty. I tend to call the stuff out pretty quickly. I try and be as polite and as professional as I can. The thing that I really focus on with stuff like that is I don't do name calling. Somebody's got an idea or a statement that's not true or something like that, I will rip that idea to pieces based on evidence. But it never turns into name calling because it doesn't make any difference who says it. Who says something has nothing to do with whether it's true or false. Somebody with a GED and somebody else with a PhD, both of them can say things that are true or false. So, yeah, the person doesn't matter. It's what they say. It's content of what they say. So, for those of you that may get into discussions with something, it's not always easy sometimes, depending on who it is. But if you always attack the idea, never attack the person, it starts to get a little bit easier to have those discussions and find middle ground and stuff like that. So. Oh, man. Definitely appreciate that, Randy. I think is. Now I've got. I do have people set as moderators on this channel, but they never really have to do anything. You know, like I said, I think the only time is there was a younger kid on here, just ADHD and didn't have a whole lot of self-control or verbal control or anything like that. It came in and we even kind of quietly moved that aside. I can't think of too many times we've ever had to moderate anybody out. What Kevin's talking about with bubblegum videos, and I don't know exactly how it got that name, but it's the kind of videos that I do, where I just set up the camera and talk. You know, I've got to upgrade this too. I've got one tracking gimbal that I can use for the cell phone, but I don't have a heavier tracking gimbal for the camera yet. So what I got to do is I just set the camera up on a tripod, and then I try and set it as wide angle as I can on the highest resolution, and then edit in the zooms and things like that. So it all with varying degrees of success. But you know, it's kind of when you do it yourself. It's not a bubblegum video. If you've got a cinematographer, you got somebody videoing for you and stuff like that, and doing all the editing and things like that. So. Excuse me, guys. But yes, this is a Sri Lankan. This is my male Sri Lankan, Bob, who was absolutely terrified when I got him. He's the one that's in the series, and he's the one that still lets me know who's boss, but you're such a sweet boy when you want to be. Once you realize it's time to be handled, you're good. But see, this is a dynamic too, working with him, that is so important with the bigger snakes. I mean, with him, it's easy. You know, anybody can get struck at by a 3-foot long snake, brush it off and go in there and do what you need to do to make them feel comfortable and handle them and so forth. It's a little bit different story if you've got a 13, 16-foot retic or berm or afrock or something like that, taking a shot at you, and now you still got to be comfortable with it and risk getting bit. But the thing is the way it impacts the snake is going to be the same in most cases. You know, he came in, I knew I was going to piss him off when I did that. I expected him to strike at me. I ignored it, picked him up, and now he's kissing my nose. Ain't you? He's a good boy. See? So it's just that's one of the things in the last couple of videos that folks have sent me with their retics has been the same dynamic, except, you know, they just start overusing their hook out of anxiety. they think that the more you tap it, sooner or later the snake's just going to smile at you and tell you that it's okay. Like in English, tell you. And they're not going to do that. You got to watch your body language and act according to their behavior, not their size. So it's a common thing. Let me go ahead and put him back though, because he's been a real trooper, and he's been nice. I'm not going to make him endure this stuff any longer than I have to. Are you still good with the microphone, or you want to take a shot at it before you go? Sure. It'd be like a heavy bag. Be good practice. It won't hurt your mouth. You want to take a shot at it? Okay. I'll put him on. I see you. And the funny thing is, too, is like I said, he's been in his enclosure or in his hide the last couple of days, just chilling. Before he went into his hide, he was sitting in his water bowl. I'd walk up there again. I'd be dealing with Athena or up top with Lilith, and he'd just stick his nose up and his tongue would start going. I'd open it up, take him right out, no problem. The only reason why he had the attitude tonight is because it's kind of the equivalent of somebody walking into your bedroom at 3 o'clock in the morning and grabbing you by the scruff of your neck and dragging you out of bed. So. Yeah, that's what Kevin calls his latest unedited videos. Let's see, man, we're coming up on 11 o'clock, 8, 9, 10. We're coming up on 3 hours. What the hell? No wonder I yawned. Let's see. Oh, Bob's being nice. He's being nice. Like I said, he just got snatched up out of bed, and he's nice. He's just not a pushover. Oh. You can hear him in the paper back there. Oh, yeah, that's Sri Lankan. Bob is a pretty boy, that's for sure. His head is just, the colors on his head are great. I cannot wait until he gets full grown. Yeah, I got to do the same thing. Tomorrow morning, I got to feed everybody. Yeah, the lizards get fed. The snakes get fed tomorrow. So. Yep. Yeah, Randy's right on point. If you just kind of ignore them when they start throwing that stuff up, especially if you've had them for a while, you've been handling them and stuff like that. If they take a swing at you, it's just because they want to be left alone. You know, once you go in and you grab him up, just like him, he goes from striking and hissing to licking my nose and crawling around on my neck. So. Let's see. I don't know what spurred this comment, but I have been approaching this topic. Amazing how quickly false information gets out and how slow true information replaces that. God, that applies to so many things today. I've had a couple videos that I've put out here recently that have hurt some feelings because of some people's political affiliations. But anytime I am not a political person, just so you know, I'm not attached to any party at all. It's kind of par for the course for a lot of soldiers. I mean, we don't typically play politics; we play reality. But I am really big on honesty and integrity and respect and treating people well. And so Needless to say, without going into a whole lot of detail, you can extrapolate from those values how I feel about certain people in the political spectrum and how some people can get hurt by the things that I got to say. But I think values are more important than anybody's political affiliation. So I'm going to leave it at that. For right now. At some point, I may have a very direct video that I put out about that, but man. And see, this is one of those things too. There's not the only time I really hit, and try and go into a nice benign 30-second explanation of this. If we keep politics, we are inextricably linked to politics. If we keep reptiles, we are inextricably linked to politics. That's what USARK focuses on. The act of writing letters to our congressmen, our representatives, to Fish and Wildlife, to all of these government officials, the act of USARK informing everybody of what's going on, us responding to it, and us engaging in a democratic process with elected officials is politics. We require everybody in the reptile community to be familiar with politics in order to maintain the right to keep our animals. It's something that, they say you're not supposed to talk about. You're going to piss somebody off. The fact is that we've got to talk about it in the reptile community because we've got to engage in it. If we didn't engage in politics, we would have had 5 states that had new bans. But because of the fact that we do engage, those bans got knocked down. So, like I said, the subjective stuff, my opinion isn't worth any more than anybody else's opinion. I don't care what end of the spectrum you're on. Opinions are opinions. We're all entitled to them. I'm not going to hassle anybody about it. The only thing that I will say on that topic is that I don't have any respect for a pathological liar. I have no respect for a sexual predator. No respect for a career fraud or an insurrectionist or somebody who publicly makes fun of the disabled people or people who say that dead veterans are suckers and losers. I could go on, but I won't. But any one of those things, it's not a subjective thing. I wouldn't trust any one of those people in my circle. If somebody's a pathological, one of those traits in my circle, you're gone. And I think everybody's the same way. I mean, what do you do if your spouse would lie to you? How would you feel about that? What do you tell your kid every time they lie to you? What do you do if your daughter gets sexually assaulted? Or your spouse or your mother? What do you do if you do a job for somebody and they refuse to pay you? These are not subjective things. These are objective. These are black and white, right and wrong. So those things I will hit very hard. And I mean, honestly, if anybody believes being a pathological liar, a sex offender, a fraud, any of that stuff is good, then we've got different values. So anyway, that's the gist of that. Some things are just basic right and wrong. So if you guys end up seeing a video sometime in the fairly near future that really drives that point home, it's important because it is, and we all know it. And just nobody wants to really come out and say it because they don't want to piss anybody off and they don't want to lose subscribers. Well, there's a reason why we got such a good community here. There's a reason why we got such good people. It's so peaceful. It's helpful. So that's what's important. Just keeping the good people around. But anyway, we're pushing. Yeah, we're 5 minutes away from 3 hours, and I was hoarse when I started. So I may not even be able to talk tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one good. Quick thank you out to everybody who jumped on board the Patreon. That's awesome. Tara's going to have to be my my Patreon recruiter. Love it, man. You guys just awesome. We'll be, working on getting. I've got to get some more content out with the new Asian water monitor, and I've got a couple things that I want to put out too with the retic handling. Kind of ties into some of the other stuff that I've had. So we're getting there. We're working on it all as soon as we can. But absolutely good seeing you guys again this week, man. If nothing else, then we'll be back here next Saturday at 8 o'clock. And again, feel free to hit me up on Facebook, Instagram. We're on there all the time. Of course, the comments and the videos. I check all of those things. Get subscribed to the channel, like the videos, get them out to more people, all that cool stuff. We're coming up. I mean, we're at 9,000 subs. Really like to hit 10,000 over the course of the next month or two. So I guess I need to start putting out more content in order to do that. But yeah, Erica's on board too. That's awesome, man. You guys rock. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, I missed that one. Fishy Plumber. That was the first time I'd see that. Just wanted to acknowledge you real quick before we go. And absolutely, Randy, Nicole, you guys. Serpents with OG, I want to acknowledge you too, because I didn't see you come up yet. I must have missed those. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. You guys have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see you again soon.